This is Right on the Money with Tom Mosley, founder of Mosley Wealth Management.
Our mission at Mosley Wealth Management is to help people make sure they never run out of income the rest of their life and they pay as little as they're legally required to pay in taxes.
Since 1995, Tom Mosley and his team have been creating comprehensive, custom financial plans to help you preserve what you've earned and pursue what you've envisioned.
In retirement, a lot of people have built a great lump sum. We call that your lumberyard. But you need a blueprint to put that lumberyard into a plan that you can build a retirement house to live in.
What's on your mind this week, Southern California? The stock market, taxes, inflation, income, Social Security, how to ease into the life of your dreams? Let's discover conservative financial strategies starting right now. This is your Right on the Money Radio Hour with Tom Mosley.
And a very happy weekend to you. You are listening to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. He is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management based right here in Southern California. And I'm your host, Kristen Oakley. We're so glad you're joining us today. Each week, Tom and I are committed to providing you with retirement planning solutions. And today, we're going to be talking about the fact that retirement isn't what it used to be. You know, the reality is that for many people, it's no longer about just hanging up your hat or just playing golf every single day. It's so important to find new purpose, stay active, and yes, for some folks, even work. We're going to be talking about a concept called semi-retirement today and how that might apply to you. But before we get into all that, Tom, my friend, it's always good to be with you, and welcome back from the wonderful trip you recently had.
Yeah, we took our staff down to Cabo for 5 days and just had a great reward trip for them. They've worked so hard. Those of you who are members of our client family, you know many of the people on our staff that you work with, our advisors, but deeper than just our advisors, our people in our marketing team and our people in our new business team. We took the whole staff down. And there were 27 of us all together. I mean, it's amazing. Last time I took a trip down there 2 years ago, I had 10. And that's with the staff and a spouse. And, you know, this time there were 27 of us. So, oh my goodness, did we have a great time, and good to be back. Everybody locking in and going back to work and doing what we can to help people retire or semi-retire or quarter retire or whatever you want to do when it comes to retirement. That's right.
Yes. Well, I have to smile when I think about your explosive growth. Of course, we've gotten to know each other over the last couple of years, and to do the TV show and radio show together is such an honor. It's no wonder you're reaching more people and therefore needing to have more staff to help connect with as many people as possible, right?
Yeah, we're actually right now interviewing for 3 more positions, because if I'm going to have an advisor out in the field in another 1.5 or 2 years, I want to hire them now and bring them in and let them sit through, you know, ad infinitum, so many different events and different appointments, and just really get to know our system and how we treat people. Because I think the difference in us, Kristen, and a lot of people is how we treat people. We don't have any preconceived notions about what you're going to get in a plan for you, because we don't know what you need. Mm-hmm. And we really tailor that plan, you know, to you. It would be like some of these builders who go in and they buy 200 acres of land and they develop it by building a house, and they build a subdivision. And I'm in a really nice subdivision in the city of Placentia, and there are 4 basic models they used on 96 houses. Mm-hmm. And as I walk my dog almost every single night, I can look at that and say, oh, that's a Model 1, Model 2, Model 3, Model 4, and that's it. They all look alike. I know what those people's houses look like on the inside because I've been in each one of those models and visiting my friends. Mm-hmm. What we do is we build custom homes. Yes. You know, we start with the land that you've bought that you want a house put on, and we start with the lumber that you're able to afford and what you're able to afford, and we build that for you in a retirement. So you're going to be safe and secure in that retirement plan we build for you for the rest of your life. We want to make sure you're never going to run out of income the rest of your life, and you pay as little as you're legally required to pay in taxes. And along the way, making money for you is all part of that. And the right investments are all part of that. And having the right Medicare is all part of that. All that's part of it. But we start with that blank piece of paper rather than going out and build a subdivision and sell the houses to people. We wait and build a custom plan for you. We call it a retirement blueprint.
And if you know that this is something that you are wanting to have for your retirement, we invite you. You can even pick up the phone and call now. Don't worry, you won't interrupt the show, but a member of the team will connect with you and then schedule a time for you to come in and receive your very own complimentary retirement blueprint from the team of Mosley Wealth Management. That number to call is 888-930-5609, or you're also welcome to visit us online at mosleywealthmanagement.com. That's MOSLEY wealthmanagement.com. Well, Tom, before the show, we were talking about this concept of semi-retirement. And I think it's really interesting. You shared with me why we're going to be talking about this today and really what this concept of semi-retirement actually means.
Well, when I do seminars, I generally, if it's the 3-hour retirement masterclass, and you can see all our seminars by going to our website, mosleywealthmanagement.com. That's MOSLEY wealthmanagement.com. But at that 3-hour retirement masterclass, we have a little more time, a little more interaction. And I ask people, how many of you plan to just work up to a certain day and just stop cold turkey and never work again? And I'm amazed at how many people, when we get into a discussion, come up with different things. And I'm amazed at how many people retire and they've intended to stop. I mean, I'm never going to work another day the rest of my life once I retire. Because they get into retirement and there are a lot of reasons to go back to work. It's not always that person at Walmart that's a greeter is not always broke. They may be bored, okay? Because they're sitting around the house. They've been active. Their social life has been at work and getting out and staying active. And so, they may be bored to death and they may just want to get out. And hey, if I'm going to get out, I might as well get paid for it. And I might as well lock into a group of people that I get to know. So you could be bored. You could need the money. And one guy told me one time, literally, he said, my wife and I are just fighting all the time. He said, it's one thing for us to see each other at night and then on the weekend, but we got to ease into this thing, Tom.
Right. Ease into 24/7 retirement together, right?
That is exactly right. And I think that's one reason, we've talked about on the show before, gray divorce. And I think that's why the fastest growing segment of the population getting divorced are people over 55 years of age, because it's one thing to live with each other and see each other at night and on the weekend. But then when you retire, it's 24/7, 365 days a year. So a lot of people go back to work. Yes. And that's what we're going to talk about, is not just why people go back to work, but there could be some advantages to you. Now, and there's 3 different types of people, and I want you to know you all fit into this, okay? Number 1, this is particularly pertinent and timely for those people who are just about to retire. But if you've already retired and you see some of the reasons we're going to go over to maybe go back to a semi-retirement, that would be great. And if you're not right on the cusp of retirement, or you're not already retired, if you're 10 years away from retirement, and a lot of you are out there and say, and if you said this, when I said that, if you said this in your mind, you said, well, man, I don't know if I'll ever be able to retire. Maybe some of the ideas I give you when it speaks to semi-retirement on this show might give you some light as to how you could go ahead and retire, set a date for retire, but instead of flat out cold turkey retire, you could semi-retire. And so it will help anybody along that whole spectrum if you even know how to spell the word retirement.
Yes. And whether it's a full-time passion project or maybe just part-time income, the point is that this concept of semi-retirement is redefining for many people what their golden years are looking like. And that's what we want to explore today, is what that could potentially mean for you. I know we're going to be going through several financial beneficial outcomes of semi-retirement. So, Tom, what's first up on the list today?
Well, if you semi-retire, it could very positively impact your Social Security benefits. And on this discussion, we've done it on other shows. We've done it on podcasts that you can find on our website. We've got about 150 podcasts out there. And, we've got one that just says, could Social Security go broke? Not going to discuss that today. I'm going to assume that Congress is going to do the responsible thing, and everything we've paid in for it, they're going to pay it back to us and not cut our benefits in 2033 like they've semi-questioned. But how could going into a semi-retirement help your Social Security? Well, number one, it could continue to build your Social Security. One of the things we talk about in our Social Security workshops is they take your top 35 earning years, and that's how they determine how much they're going to pay you on your Social Security. So working another 3, 4, 5 years, maybe a semi-retirement in the next 3, 4, 5 years, you may make enough money to offset some of those earlier years where you didn't make much money. So just by taking the top 35 earning years that they're going to calculate your Social Security by taking that and increasing those numbers for the top 35 years could increase your Social Security. Here's the other thing. It could allow you to delay your Social Security. I mean, you could get to a point where you could say, okay, what do we need for income flow? I could turn on Social Security. If you're married, you could turn on one of the two Social Securities. But if you're willing or able to get a semi-retirement and get a part-time job, you may make enough money on that part-time job to not turn on your Social Security and allow that to grow. Now, how much does it grow, Tom? It grows at about 8% every year you wait, plus the cost of living.
Right. The cost of living adjustment, too.
Right, like January of this year, those who are taking Social Security got a 2.7% raise. If you're not taking and you're delaying your Social Security, you got basically a 10.7% raise because you got an 8% raise thereabout for waiting a year to turn on your Social Security, plus the 2.7% cost of living raise. So most people would rather have a 10.7 raise rather than a 2.7% raise. So just little things like that are the things that a professional financial planner can bring to the table. And some of you are out there saying, wow, I never thought about that. There are about 1,000 never thought abouts when it comes to retirement that we've thought about because I've been doing it for 30 years. And my advisors collectively have been doing it about 60 or 70 years. So those are the kind of things that we bring to the table to help you. But we offer a retirement blueprint to you, but you've got to say, hey, I raised my hand. I need that. So if you're out there and you're in that situation, raise your hand. Call the number Kristen's going to give you.
That number to call is 888-930-5609. Again, 888-930-5609. This is for no cost, no charge, no obligation. It's simply an invitation to have a conversation with a member of the team from Mosley Wealth Management and start your path to having your very own complimentary retirement blueprint built for you. Stay with us. We've got a lot more to cover on today's show regarding semi-retirement. We'll be back right after this.
Is having $1 million enough to retire? For years, many have considered this to be the goal amount to have for retirement savings, $1 million. But that's the $1 million question. Is that enough for today's modern retiree? Are you sure you've saved enough for a 25 or 30-year retirement? Are you concerned about covering large expenses, including taxes and long-term care? If so, you're not alone. But there is a solution. Let us help you work towards peace of mind by implementing a complete retirement strategy. Call Tom Mosley and the team of Mosley Wealth Management right away to receive your complimentary, comprehensive written financial plan. 888-930-5609.
Call the Mosley Wealth Management team at 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609. Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley. We're so glad you're joining us today. And if you're just tuning in, We are talking all about the concept of semi-retirement, the fact that a lot of folks are easing into the life of their dreams. And one of the ways they're doing that, Tom, is by continuing to work, even if it's just part-time. Statistics show it's not healthy for people to go straight from working full-time to doing absolutely nothing. A lot more people are doing this part-time semi-retirement, and there's several benefits to doing so. So we've already talked about how it can benefit your Social Security benefits. Let's now talk about how it can reduce the drawdown of your retirement savings.
Well, when you retire, you are then self-employed, built on whatever you've put away in your retirement savings. I call it a lumberyard. And unfortunately, a lot of people have the hope the lumberyard last philosophy on retirement, and that they built up a big 401k or an IRA, and even their advisor is encouraging them, like most of the big box firms, to just, put that money in the market and hope that lumberyard last. And we take a different approach. We like to take that lumberyard and build that into a financial plan that addresses your income and makes sure that you have secure, guaranteed income for life. And then that we call that your paycheck replacement. And then the rest of your money that is still in the lumberyard is your playcheck. And I like the paycheck playcheck approach, because when you're 60, you're going to have income, or 65 or 70, whenever you retire, you're going to have that guaranteed income the rest of your life. And it gives you more freedom. It gives you more contentment to go spend money out of your paycheck, to go to Europe, to go to Bora Bora, to go enjoy the things you want to do, to join the country club, to play golf, to do all of those things, because you're going to have that income guaranteed. But if you've got a hope the lumberyard last strategy, then working in a semi-retirement where maybe you work part-time, maybe you do something different that you really enjoy, even if it's full-time, and the enjoyment of it helps you. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But if you've got a job that's causing you to not have to go to that 401k early and to start drawing down, then you can eliminate that fear of seeing that lumberyard disintegrate. Because here's what happens in reality. I've seen it over and over and over again over 30 years in dealing with people when they first come to us. And maybe they don't come to us when they first retire. Maybe you're sitting out there and you say, well, that's what I'm doing. I'm hoping my lumberyard lasts. We got a lot of people who come to us that way, and they've been retired for 4, 5, or 6 years. And the last time they glanced at the lumberyard, Kristen, they looked at it and there wasn't near as much lumber there, because they've had to go get more money than they thought they were going to have to get. And maybe especially in years where we have a downturn, that lumberyard's just not nearly as big as it was. And they begin to fear, hey, I'm in good health. I'm still spending money, and I've got probably a lot of years left, and I don't have as big a lumberyard as I used to have, because they don't have that security of having a real retirement plan. They've got that hope the lumberyard lasts plan, okay? Maybe you're in that position. Well, if you do, you don't want to go back to work by necessity when you've run out of your lumberyard in your mid-80s.
Right.
Okay. Nobody wants to do that. Might not be possible to do that. Okay. Physically, mentally, other reasons. But when you're in your early 70s, you don't want to be forced into a bigger semi-retirement job than you really want. You might want to just start working a part-time job to reduce the flow out of your retirement savings. And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about your lumberyard. What have you put in that lumberyard? Now, you've got a choice. As I said earlier, you can leave that in a lumberyard and just go get a little bit of it every year for the expenses, for the new car, for the roof, and those kind of things, and watch it draw down. Or you can work with a real retirement planner like one of our advisors, and we'll build you a retirement blueprint of that lumberyard that'll give you a house, that'll give you some security that you can live in retirement financially and never run out of income the rest of your life. I mean, those are things that we can show you how to do. We can take that fear out, and that fear of reducing your retirement savings can all be helped by the retirement blueprint, but it can also be helped if it's not as big as you want it by getting a part-time job. And we see a lot of people, Kristen, doing that and moving into that.
Well,
And
yeah, I was
go
going to
ahead.
say too, it's amazing how even just delaying your retirement by 1 or 2 years can make a huge difference. Or to your point, still getting a part-time job, because not only can that prevent you from having to dip into your retirement savings sooner, but you can also continue to contribute to your retirement plan at work if that's offered to you. I mean, that's another huge benefit as well.
Wow. And that brings us to that third point. You could have a job that would have a 401k, that would have the opportunity. And even if you don't have a 401k at your job, if you've got earned income, 60, 70, 75, wherever you've got earned income, you can contribute to an IRA.
Hmm.
And unless you have too much earned income, and then there's still some ways you can sneak it in the back door. But that's the third thing. Not only will it help your Social Security? We talked about that in the first segment. It will reduce the drawdown on your retirement savings, but you can also have the opportunity to continue to contribute to your retirement and your retirement savings plan. So there's all kinds of ways if you do it. But the people that are out there that my heart goes out to, and there's an emotional aspect to continuing to work in
Hmm.
some cases. And what I see is that person who retired and 3 or 4 years later, they go back to work because they've reduced that retirement savings so much that they're in fear,
Mm.
and their emotions are involved in it, and they're working out of fear. That's a terrible motivation to go back to work and to work a semi-retirement. Work it because you want to, because you've got it built into a certain plan that you have. Now, I want to address the point that you brought up too about what will delaying your retirement, tapping into that retirement by working on a semi-retirement, a part-time job or something like that, and just delaying Social Security or delaying tapping into the retirement, or maybe even contributing, just doing that another year or two. We run the simulations, Kristen, just like the big box firms.
Hmm.
They run a Monte Carlo simulation. We call ours eMoney. It's probably the most popular simulation we run, and we can run an eMoney simulation on your retirement. We do that on every single client we have. And when we run that, it is amazing what delaying tapping into your retirement bundle 1, 2, 3 years, what it will do for you in 20, 21, 22, 23 years down the road.
Hmm.
Because you've allowed, number one, you've allowed it to potentially grow even more.
Right.
And number two, you are not drawing out of it even earlier. So there are so many things that could impact you in a very positive way.
Yes, and it can continue to compound the more that's in there, right? That's the
Right.
beautiful thing for sure.
What did Mark Twain said, that the eighth wonder of the world was compound interest.
Hmm.
Just that money working for you rather than working against you by you drawing down. It's the same principle of when you buy a car, when you pay cash for it versus when you go take a loan out to buy a car. I mean, you're a servant to the lender. You're paying an extra 6%, per year or so to the mortgage or to the loan on the car, rather than just putting the money back into your savings over a period of time because you borrowed it from yourself.
Yep.
And I mean, it's just you want your money to work for you, not against you. And I had a person this week in my office that, man, their favorite word was leverage.
Mm.
And my definition of leverage is really what it is: debt. They thought you should go into debt on everything. They were amazed that when they were talking to me about their business and how leveraged it was, what that meant was basically it really wasn't worth very much because they owed so much on the business, and they
Hmm.
were using it as a cash flow, but they weren't using it as a building of equity. And they were amazed when they talked to me a little bit generically about my business, Mosley Wealth Management and Mosley Financial financial services, and we don't have any debt. We pay our debt off at the end of every month, and it's amazing how little, or sometimes if you put something on a credit card like an airline ticket, sometimes it'll carry over month to month, but we still don't have any interest payments because we pay every balance off at the end of every month. Well, that's the way about if you just work another year or two, and then you can borrow from yourself for things because you've built up your retirement savings. You can still contribute to those retirement savings. It's amazing how much further down the road it puts you.
Yes.
And how much more of an advantage it puts you in. You want to see how that works? Well, bring your stuff in, come in. What do you have to do to get a retirement blueprint? You call in, you get on the schedule of one of our 8 all-star advisors. Yes, we're up to 8 now, 5 offices spread all over Southern California, all the way from San Diego Scripps Ranch to Encino to Ontario and points in between. You come in, you sit down and talk to us. We look at what you have, and we look at what your financial cash flow and what your needs are. That's your budget. And we begin to really put some absolute numbers, and that's where we take a blank sheet of paper and start filling in the numbers for you. And we can tell you whether it would be advantageous for you to cold turkey retire, or maybe semi-retire, or maybe work another 3 years. We're strong enough to tell you, but we can't help you if you don't raise your hand and come in. So give us a call, get on our schedule. We can help you decide if semi-retirement might be for you.
So well said, Tom. That number for all of you to call is 888-930-5609 to schedule your time to come in and receive your complimentary retirement blueprint. Again, that's 888-930-5609. Stay with us. We'll be back with more right after this.
You've heard the phrase, you don't know what you don't know, and we believe it's especially true when it comes to retirement planning. There's a lot of information out there, and it can be overwhelming and confusing. So how do you know what you don't know? Social Security, RMDs, estate planning, investment risk. These are just a few of the many areas that a financial advisor can help you navigate. But what else don't you know about retirement planning? Are you aware of all of the tax implications of your investments? Do you know how to optimize your Social Security benefits? What about your long-term care and estate planning needs? We believe that by working with a retirement planning advisor, you can uncover potential blind spots in your financial plan and gain a better understanding of your options. Don't let unknown factors potentially derail your retirement. Take control and work with a financial advisor who can help you work towards planning out a comfortable retirement. Call Tom Mosley and the team at Mosley Wealth Management today to uncover what you may not know about your retirement future and start your complimentary retirement blueprint. Call 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
Call Mosley Wealth Management for your own complimentary retirement blueprint and written financial plan. 888-930-5609. Welcome back, Southern California. You're listening to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. He is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management, and I'm your host, Kristen Oakley. Today, we've been talking a lot about this concept of semi-retirement, the fact that a lot of folks are continuing to work by choice. Often, it's not just by force, right, Tom? A lot of times, folks are saying, hey, I still want to be active. I still want that kind of community. I'm bored. I want to have something that I'm excited about to do in life. And there's several financial benefits to living this semi-retired life. We've covered already delaying Social Security benefits can be beneficial for you, how that helps you not have to dip into your retirement savings any sooner. You can also contribute to your workplace retirement plans if you have that option and are still working. Another huge benefit for folks is that they're able to maintain their employer benefits. And this is huge because we all know that healthcare is not cheap.
Well, I think this is particularly true for those of you out there who are maybe in your middle to upper 50s and low 60s, and you're really thinking, I think we have put enough money away for retirement. I don't want to operate on the hope the lumberyard's big enough plan, but I think we could go ahead and retire. Well, one of the things that's a real crunch is at that time in your life, you are more likely than ever to be sick, to have things where you would need health insurance. And it's that need is only going to grow through the years in most people's life. And so you don't want to retire at 57 or 58 or 59 or 61 and not cover yourself with health insurance until you're 65. And many times I've had people come in from the show. They've called, they've come in, we've built them a retirement blueprint. You say, wow, they're not retiring? Right. You don't have to wait till you retire to get this blueprint in place.
Right, because the sooner you start, the more time you have to do things and to put that strategy into place, the better off it's going to be, right?
Right. Like if an architect were building a house for you and you weren't going to build it for 2 or 3 years, but you wanted to contact that architect, you already had your piece of land and you knew where you wanted to build it, you knew sort of what you wanted, then that architect could show you a drawing, could show you drawings and show you that blueprint like we do. And then, but then as you visit some neighbor's house and they've got this deal in their backyard you'd love to have in your dream retirement home. And so you say, hey, let's go back to the architect and see if we could add that into our plan. That's the way it works. But if you wait until out of necessity you're building that plan because you just retired or you just got laid off, which might happen to you in your later years, because we know they put a bullseye and a target on everybody over 50 now to lay people off whenever they want to downsize. So, you need to go ahead and have a plan before you have to have a plan. And so if you've got that retirement plan in place, and a lot of people come in to build that and they say, wow, my health insurance would literally cost me and my wife potentially over $2,000 a month. Well, I'm going to keep working. Well, one option might be to just cut down the number of hours you're working and to work a semi-retirement. Would it be possible with the expertise and the experience and the knowledge you have about a certain job or a certain employment opportunity? Would it be possible for your employer to value you enough that they would allow you to cut down to a part-time basis and still maintain your benefits? I've got people who ask that. Some get turned down. Many get accepted that, yes, we will do that. And what it does, Kristen, is it just really allows them to not tap into the lumber yard early to pay $2,000 or $1,000 a month for health insurance until they're 65 and they get on Medicare. And by the way, when you get to Medicare, two things about Medicare that are common misconceptions. Number one, it's not going to pay for everything. And number two, it's not free. Okay, so you're going to have to pay for Part B, and if you get a Medicare supplement, you're going to have to pay for that, and you're going to have to pay for Part D. You could pay from $350 a month up to maybe $500 a month, depending on your medications and the Part D that you need. So you've got to consider these things, and if anything I'm talking about, you're sitting there and you're saying, wow, I didn't know about that or didn't think about that. That's what we do for you. We give you that professional look at retirement and realize what people need and what cost people in retirement. So maintaining those health insurance is the big one until you're eligible for Medicare, and everybody's eligible for Medicare, and it's guaranteed acceptance at Medicare. That's the good thing. But finding that right health insurance, you may get a lot less coverage for a lot more money, and until you get to be 65. So you got to check that out.
For sure. And this is another thing that I really want to make sure folks understand about you and the team of Mosley Wealth Management is that you engage in the comprehensive, holistic financial planning process. It's not just about investment management, and Medicare and healthcare planning is one of the huge pieces. And you and I both know, Tom, you have to look at that in relation to the rest of the financial plan so that you don't inadvertently trigger negative tax consequences, for example. And so if folks out there have questions specifically about Medicare or want to make sure that they're in the right plan for them that meets their needs, that's part of an overall financial plan, this would be another great reason why they should schedule a time to get that retirement blueprint, right?
Absolutely. There's one major advertising investment company. They even call themselves Blank Investment, and they pride themselves on not providing or helping or selling commissionable products. But Medicare and your healthcare costs are an integral part of financial retirement planning. And if you pride yourself in saying, we don't provide commissionable products or sell commissionable products, it's the yo-yo plan when it comes to your Medicare if you're working with those investment companies, because they don't give you Medicare advice.
Yeah, sorry, just real quick. The yo-yo plan is you're on your own. That's what you're referring to.
You're on, right? You got to go find somebody else that can explain Medicare to you. And does the Medicare plan, the medical coverage you've got, does it fit into your overall plan? And how much is it going to cost? And what are the cost advantages and the tax advantages? Because you could be paying more for Part B or Part D. And if you don't provide that or give an understanding of Medicare, you may be working with an investment advisor who causes you to take money out of a certain account that drives up your Part B Medicare costs. So, there's so many things. Commissionable products, long-term care, that's a commissionable product. Well, if you pride yourself and say, I don't provide commissionable products, you can't help your people with long-term care. If they need a small burial life insurance policy, you can't provide that. That's a commissionable product. We at Mosley Wealth Management are fiduciaries when it comes to every investment product. We do what's in your best interest. But we also provide commissionable products when you need medical products, life insurance products, annuities, when you need guaranteed flows of income, when you need long-term care, all of those things we provide. We are, as you say it, a holistic company that we provide the whole 9 yards, and we don't do part of it, just the investments, and put you out there as on the yo-yo plan. You're on your own to get the rest of it.
Well, and this is a perfect segue to the other thing that really sets you all apart, is that you engage in strategic tax planning. And as we talk about a lot of the benefits of folks engaging in the semi-retirement lifestyle, there's a lot of tax efficiency that can come from that. I was in a conversation with someone yesterday, Tom, and they said something that I hadn't heard it phrased this way, and it really struck a chord with me. And that was, if you can control your income, you can control your taxes, which is really interesting in light of this conversation about semi-retirement, because if you are earning a reduced income, that could potentially help you manage your tax bracket more effectively. So talk a little bit about that benefit.
Well, exactly right. What you heard yesterday, the lower your income, the lower tax bracket you're generally in. So if the last few years, instead of just cold turkey stopping, and you lower your income tax bracket, number one, you could just pay less taxes. That's one option. Another option we talk about on this show often is you've got all that money in your 401ks and your IRAs, and it's never been taxed. We talk a lot about Roth conversions, converting that money that's never been taxed and will be taxed as long as there's money in there. You're going to have a withdrawal and pay tax on that for as long as there's money in your 401k or your IRA, your regular 401k, regular IRA. One of the things that dropping your income and getting a semi-retirement part-time job, lowering your income in addition to Social Security, retirement savings, being able to contribute, maintaining your benefits, you also could set yourself up better to do Roth conversions and convert more money during those years before you get to required minimum distributions, which start at age 73 now. You could convert more money over into a Roth. In the Roth, you're never taxed again after you get the money over there. One of the plans we work with is to try to get as many of our people into the Roth IRAs and convert all of that money so that they never pay tax in retirement. And I love when we get to that. You talking about a 𝗓, Kristen? That is a 𝗓, but you have to have a plan to do that. You have to do it the right way. You have to do it over a period of time. We call it harvesting, a little bit each year, the right amount each year. And you have to know what it's going to do to your other tax and your other capital gains tax, your Medicare tax, and all of those things. Tax efficiency. That's one thing we work with that a lot of the big box firms don't.
Correct. And when you said sigh, what you're talking about is that sigh of relief, that sigh of having the peace of mind where you know that your financial plan is working together comprehensively and holistically for you, put together by a team of fiduciaries who have a legal and ethical responsibility to always serve your best interests. And that's what you're going to receive when you work with the team of Mosley Wealth Management. The invitation is for you to call the number and schedule your time to receive your very own complimentary retirement blueprint. 888-930-5609 is the number to call, and you'll be able to get started on your journey right away. 888-930-5609. We'll be back with more right after this.
Social Security is easy, right? The question is, should I take it now or later? Well, there are dozens and dozens of ways to take Social Security if you're single, and even more if you're married. This one-time decision can also affect how much you pay in taxes, how much you receive in lifetime payouts for you and possibly your spouse. You could increase your nest egg by tens of thousands of dollars just by being informed. Don't you want to make sure you optimize your retirement income? Build your Social Security benefits into a retirement income plan with all of your assets. 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
Call Tom Mosley and the team at Mosley Wealth Management to get started on your own complimentary retirement blueprint. Call 888-930-5609. Welcome back, Southern California. You're listening to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley, the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management, and I'm your host, Kristen Oakley. If you're just joining us, we've been talking a lot today about this concept of semi-retirement. We know that a lot of folks are not just going cold turkey. A lot of people are choosing to work a little bit longer, maybe working less hours. And really, Tom, there's so many benefits to doing it that way. We've covered a lot of ground so far. What's next on the list of benefits to engage in the semi-retirement lifestyle?
Well, we're not so much talking about financial here. We're talking about touchy-feely, okay?
For this next one anyway, right? We've covered a lot of financial already.
Exactly. We're talking about just doing something you love to do. You know, there's an old saying that if you find a job you love, you'll never have to work a day of your life because you love it. And
yes, every day's a holiday for the man or woman who loves their job. That's what my grandfather always told me.
Exactly. And you know, I don't 100% subscribe that's the job you have to find. I think that's a lot of reasons that a lot of younger people hop from job to job to job. There's a reason it's called work.
Right.
It's called labor.
There's no such thing as a perfect job, right?
There's no such thing. And there are days when it's just a grind. But if you find a passion and or a project and you can actually get paid for it. One of our employees used to work for a nonprofit, and she often talks about how much joy she had from being paid to work for a nonprofit. And she said, I never made very much money, which is what we're talking about in semi-retirement, but it was so rewarding to do something I really, really wanted to do. And she's actually said, you know, that's one reason I like working here, because I feel like we're really helping people at Mosley Wealth Management as well. But, you know, some people have told me, Kristen, I was made to go to work and I didn't really like my job. I didn't really always like my boss. I didn't necessarily like the people I work with, but I found something that I can do that's a passion of mine. I get paid for it. I worked one time when I was going to Dallas Seminary. I actually got a job sitting at half court of the Dallas Maverick home games, being the assistant director of the home telecast.
Oh, how fun.
I got there 2.5 hours before the game. We interviewed all of the NBA stars, Michael Jordan at that time, Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I've personally put mics on all those people, celebrities. We did that. And in 1988 to 1991, Kristen, they paid me $125 a game to do that. Can you believe that? I would likely have volunteered to do that. Okay. And I never thought, I got to go to a Maverick game tonight. It was like, who are we going to interview? Who am I going to meet? Who do I get to see? And, there are those jobs out there when you're looking for something. And if it can bring in income, man, when I was going to seminary, 1988, 1991, during those years, that was a lot of money. And it was a lot of good money coming in. So a lot of people find a passion project. And then there's another touchy-feely, and that is if you get a part-time job,
Mm-hmm.
it sometimes alleviates some of the emotional culture shock of boom, I've worked with these people for 30 years. They've been closer to me than many members of my family, and now I don't see anybody.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't see anybody at all. I mean, even my neighbors go to work. And it's
Mhm.
just me and the wife and the dog, and it's a shock sometimes emotionally. So getting a part-time job could actually build a bridge into really being free and really not having a job. And I'm not talking, let me clarify one thing. Some of my people that do this and do it successfully, they don't have a job where they necessarily work 20 hours a week
Mhm.
or 25 hours a week. They may work for periods like a contract where they work for 6 weeks on something and they work 40 or 45 hours a week. But then they know that at the end of 6 weeks, they're going to have 6 weeks off. And that's when they do their travel and they do their retirement weeks, if you
Mhm.
understand what I'm saying. They have their work weeks and their retirement weeks. One couple even calls it that. And they're able to structure those part-time jobs. You say, where in the world will I find something like that? Don't discount your abilities,
Mhm.
because for 40 years you learned how to do something, and many times that is an expertise that is still needed
Yes.
and is still somebody out there who needs that kind of expertise, and they'll pay you for it, and they'll pay you on your terms. So that's my last encouragement on this semi-retirement. We want to talk about another big thing that's happening in the news currently right now for the last few minutes of this segment, but don't give up on maybe a semi-retirement. And, really important that you look for something, and it might be just the thing to get you over that emotional down of having retired and not having those emotional engagements, and it might help you financially as well.
And Tom, as you were talking, it just made me smile knowing that you and the team are committed to helping people retire well in all aspects of their lives. This is something you talk about regularly with folks, is the emotional side of things, the emotional transition and change, the psychological change. We know it can be difficult going from working and saving to then not having to work anymore and now spending that money you've accumulated. But this is something you've helped thousands of folks do successfully for almost 30 years now. So again, if you want help, it starts with receiving that complimentary retirement blueprint. That number to call to claim yours is 888-930-5609. All right. Well, as you mentioned, Tom, big changes are here for Social Security, specifically for anyone with a government pension. What are we talking about here? Well, the Social Security Fairness Act was recently passed, and this has officially eliminated the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. So, Tom, let's break it down, translate. What do folks need to know about this, and who does it impact the most?
All right, let's just go through some basics here, okay? It impacts government pensions. And I realize I'm only talking the population in general of the United States. I'm talking to about 3% of you out there, okay? But it impacts you in a big way. School teachers, people who work, law enforcement officers, people who have PERS, STIRS, MERS, OSERs, and those are real things. Those are real
Right.
retirement systems, okay? If you have one, you know exactly which one yours is. Working for the post office, all of those people who have a government pension, not the private pensions. The windfall elimination provision has always impacted your Social Security. In other words, if you paid into Social Security having worked a previous job, it would negatively impact what you have received in the past, okay? And the government pension offset, now that would negatively impact a surviving spouse. Sometimes as much as 2/3 of the Social Security that would be received when you inherited that big fat government pension, then you lost a big fat Social Security or a big chunk of it sometimes because of the government pension offset. I'm glad to tell you that as of the first couple of weeks of January, Congress got together. There were over 80 of them in the Senate voted for the same thing. Can you believe that?
That's
in our
amazing.
diverse, I know, it really is. But the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset, they're dead. They're done. Now, you want me to give you all the details? I want to give you all the details, but on the website, it even says we can't give you the details because the specifics are going to follow. Okay. But why did they do it? They did it because it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
You're not going to get any extra Social Security. You're only going to get Social that you've paid in and you've earned and you've built it up. That's the reason they called it the Fairness Act. Okay. So who should be alert to this? If you are already drawing on your Social Security within the details that are not really details, okay, you following me here? There's a rumor that they're going to go back to January 1st and make up a payment for 2024, okay? January 1st of 2024. If you're not drawing and you've been planning on having a loss of some of your Social Security and building that into your retirement plan, I've got great news for you. It's going to positively impact your retirement. So you need to, if you're working with somebody who's more than just an investment person at an investment company, if you're working with a real retirement planner, and you're really working on income, your income just got potentially better in retirement because of this Fairness Act. And as soon as all the details come out, you need to go back and have an upgrade, a rework of your retirement income flow, because it's going to be better than it was because of this act. Now, even Social Security says right now, what can you do? Here's what they say, Kristen. They say, make sure your address is correct. So when we get the details, we're going to mail out a letter. So I can tell you, go on the Social Security website, make sure Social Security has the right address for you so you can get all the information straight from them. If you've got an advisor who doesn't understand Social Security, like most of them don't, and they can't help you with that, come see us, talk to us. We can help you know how it's going to positively impact your retirement income through Social Security. Hey, check our website out too. Mosley Wealth Management, Mosley Wealth Management. Not only can you call in and get a retirement blueprint, but you can come in. We've got some new areas up in Calabasas, and we've got some new areas up in the Encino area where we're having Social Security workshops. Kristen, we're having over 100 workshops in the year 2025 spread all over Southern California, just teaching people about Social Security. But everybody out there, so many people come to those events and they say, Tom, I've been listening to you for so long and I should have come in 6 months ago. Now's the time to call in.
Yes, don't wait. We know that the number one cause of financial failure is procrastination. Don't let that be you. And again, regarding Social Security, just a couple things I wanted to highlight. If you need to go to that Social Security website, it's ssa.gov. That's ssa.gov. And again, if you know someone who has a government pension, or you yourself have one, this could mean a huge boost to your retirement income. But this is just one piece of your overall financial puzzle. The best way to get the advice on what's going to impact you and the plan that you need to put together for your situation is by receiving your complimentary retirement blueprint. And again, you can start that process by picking up the phone today and calling 888-930-5609. Hey, thanks so much for joining us this weekend. We appreciate you being here. Be safe, be happy, be blessed, and we look forward to being back with you next time here on Right on the Money with Tom Mosley.
Investment advisory services offered by duly registered individuals through Mosley Wealth Management, Incorporated. Mosley Wealth Management and Mosley Insurance and Financial Services are affiliated companies by common ownership license number OB61811. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refers to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength, claims paying ability of the issuing carrier. This content is intended for for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the needs of an individual situation. All hypothetical examples are provided for illustrative purposes only. They do not represent real-life scenarios. Mosley Insurance and Financial Services, nor its agents or representatives, may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a qualified professional for guidance before making any investment decisions. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. Some of the information provided may be from one or more third parties which we believe to be reliable sources, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Mosley Insurance and Financial Services.